I have a controller. I have a cooler.
GameSir X3.
Hey guys, welcome back to Golden Reviewer. So today I'm going to show you a very interesting new product. This is GameSir X3. It's not yet publicly available, but thanks to GameSir who sent me this early prototype so that I can show you what it is about. So they created an Indiegogo page for this product, and I'll put the link down below. If you are interested, you can check out that link. So an easy way to summarize this product is a game controller that actively cools your phone. So here I have the GameSir X2, and as you can see, they are very similar. So for button layout, for the overall shape, but the main difference is that the GameSir X3 has this cooling device in the center, and that's the most notable difference. And speaking of this cooler, it's actually not only a fan, it's a proper portier device which is actively cooling your device, right? So it's actually capable of bringing down the temperature to below your ambient temperature. And also in the fan there is RGB lighting, so whoever is behind you will be able to see this cool color effects. And here is a speed up footage showing how the lighting changes color. Pretty cool touch there. And here is what it looks like from the side. And you can see all the metal fins for heat exchange. But of course, let's peel this off and see how much it can bring down the temperature. After all, that's all that matters, right? Okay, that's about 2 minutes. I'll measure the temperature on this surface. It seems that it can bring down the temperature from 26, my ambient is around 26, to 14 degrees. And it's actually quite cool to touch. Yep, so that looks pretty promising to me. I can't wait to test the actual gaming performance. But before that, let's spend a bit of time to take a look around this device as well. So the very first thing is that this is not a wireless controller, so it's not Bluetooth. You have to connect the phone to the controller by this USB-C port. So you might wonder what happens with all the different sizes or thickness of the phones. Actually, they made this USB-C port very flexible. It can move or rotate in all the directions, so that's not an issue. And it does fit my Galaxy S22 Ultra pretty well. Yes, so it can accommodate all sizes of your smartphone, but I did try the iPad mini, it doesn't fit, right? So currently with this USB Type-C configuration, there is no iOS device that is able to be used on this game controller. So that's something to take note. And another thing is that the cooling part of this controller is actually able to move to the left or right a little bit after you inserted your phone. So you can actually adjust the exact position to make the cooling most effective. But one thing I noticed is that although you have to plug in an external power source for the cooler to work, it doesn't charge your phone, right? So the external power source is only to power the cooler. Your phone is on the battery by itself. And I do feel that this is something that GameSir can improve maybe. It will be better if it cools and charges the phone at the same time. And another interesting thing I noticed is that GameSir sent me these replacement buttons or joysticks, and it's actually super easy to replace these buttons because they designed it very cleverly. All the buttons and joysticks are actually held by a small magnet, right? So it's very easy. You just take it out and you can put it back in just seconds. And here is a closer look on how that works. Yeah, it's very interesting and clever design, I'll say. And as you can see, the other joystick, even the D-pad, are all removable and replaceable. So this is very nice. But when it comes to the 4 smaller buttons on the right, things get a little bit difficult because they are so small. You don't actually have a proper way to hold it and take it out, right? So, but it's still doable. It just takes a bit more effort, and maybe you need to use some proper tools to get a hold onto the small button. But once you get them out, you are actually able to adjust the layout to an Xbox controller or a PS controller or Switch style. So you can just buy one controller and have all the layouts. So kudos to that. Very, very clever and very nice. And oh yes, one last thing about this is that it's quite heavy actually. I mean, it's expected, but it's quite heavy, right? The weight is approximately equal to the GameSir X2 plus proper Peltier cooler. Yeah. Anyway, it is a game controller plus a Peltier device, right? So that's something to be expected, but I think I just want to mention it. Okay, so next I'll do a simple game test. I only got this device for a couple of days and I want to get the video app out as quickly as possible. So I choose Minecraft, which has native support for this controller, which is very nice. So it's a plug and play. You just plug your controller onto your phone and boom, it just works, right? So that's very nice. And this game actually supports 120 FPS on my S22 Ultra. So that's also very stressful on the device, and the device does heat up a lot during the game, and I do see frame drops after a few minutes of gameplay. So I think it's a good game to actually test the sustained performance and how well this game controller can cool down the device to improve sustained performance, right? But that being said, this is still a very simple, unofficial and preliminary test. So in the coming days, when I have time, I will test more games on this device with the controller. I think I'll test Genshin Impact as well, right? But come back to the game, you can see that in the initial phases of the game, both with and without the cooler, the device is able to sustain 120 FPS almost. That is nice. But if we fast forward to about after 7 or 8 minutes, that's where you see some significant difference, right? You can see that with the cooler, the game still runs at about 100 to 120 FPS, but without the cooler, the FPS has dropped to 70, 80s. So that's a pretty significant difference. Okay, so we can conclude that the game controller does help in keeping the device cool and thus improving the sustained performance. But of course, we still have to test more games to see how effective it is in various conditions. But I also want to mention that using a controller to play this game is much enjoyable than playing with the controls in the display, right? So that's also something to keep in mind. Yep, guys, so that's a quick preview of this interesting cooling game controller device from GameSir. As I said, it's not released to public yet. You can check out the link in my description if you are interested in this device and follow the development progress and as well as the release schedule. Yeah, so that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.